We could be waiting months or even years for the results of a federal civil rights investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department. People who've been through this before warn it is a long, drawn-out process that is expensive. They also tell us it will further test the relationship between the police and the people they serve. To better understand what's coming, investigative reporter Kirsten Swanson traveled to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where the police department has been under federal oversight for 7 years.
Kevin, over the past few weeks, we've looked at this complex federal investigation through the eyes of the people in Albuquerque, from the families who fought for change after the DOJ found the police department there had a pattern and practice of using excessive force, to current and former officials who navigated the process, its pitfalls, and the political fallout. I asked them all, what is Minneapolis in for?
I would tell the people of Minneapolis to have patience.
You're in for a tough haul.
There is no quick fix.
You're in for constant change.
They can expect a lot of policy change.
The DOJ moving in, as intimidating as that may sound, is not to punish, it's to help.
7 years ago, the Justice Department rolled into Albuquerque, New Mexico, as swiftly as the clouds roll over the mountains. After police shot and killed Stefan and Renetta Torres' youngest son, Christopher, they hoped the pressure from federal oversight would forge change.
There were other consent decrees in other parts of the country. So, we looked to those different cities to see.
Renetta started doing the research. She's the one that got on the computer.
And they suspect people in Minneapolis are doing the same, researching this process and what could come from it. From the couple that's been through it before.
It's not going to go away, so you'd better start dealing with it.
A word of advice.
D.O.J. is tenacious.
For Minneapolis police.
I think that the best recourse for the police department is just embrace the reform.
During our time in Albuquerque, we heard a lot about what's to come.
What is Minneapolis in for?
Oh man, it's going to take them 2.5 years to even figure out what's going on.
The financial cost alone surprised many people when the oversight of APD started.
And this is not like, hey, we're coming in and giving you an extreme makeover on us, and everything's going to be so beautiful when we leave.
Right now, we pay to be monitored.
Financial records show the city of Albuquerque has paid the independent monitor more than $8.1 million since 2015.
Every year that we stay in it costs taxpayers millions of dollars that I quite frankly would like to see spent in a different way on the community.
Police Chief Harold Medina told me this process continues until the DOJ is satisfied that they can leave a police department better than they found it.
This is going to be a long, drawn-out process. There is no quick fix, and there's going to be conflict within the department, within the community.
And conflict between the people trying to make it better.
We've gone through 2 mayor administrations with the DOJ. We've had, goodness, 3 chiefs.
This will outlive every single one of the politicians that are seated in Minneapolis right now.
SHAUN Willoughby, president of the Officers Union, argues the reforms haven't changed what's happening in Albuquerque and won't change what's happening in Minneapolis.
You're still going to have officer-involved shootings. You're still going to have officer-involved shootings of individuals that are of color. That's not going to change.
But former police chief Michael GEIER says officers share in that responsibility to make the change.
They're going to have to, again, have supervisors buy in and actually do their jobs right.
And take it from us in Albuquerque, it's 7 years in, and there's still a lot of learning to do. Now, the city is working to bring in a new team to investigate the investigators.
Tessa Mentes covered the DOJ reforms from the very beginning as KOB Eyewitness News 4's main anchor. And because she's covered it from every angle, she can see the ripple effects coming for Minneapolis.
There's going to be a lot of uncertainty. There's going to be a lot of turnover, just from what we've seen here in Albuquerque.
Any advice for the Minneapolis police chief?
Surround yourself with good people, with strong-willed people who are going to sustain the push forward. If you're not careful, it will consume you.
Unfortunately, police departments have fallen back, and we haven't treated citizens very well over the years, and we've caused these problems for ourselves. Take ownership. Once we do that, it will get better.
Each of these conversations ended with this question.
What would you tell people in Minneapolis about what's coming?
There's no shaking hands and saying, okay, we see what you see. We promise to get this done.
There is no walking away from this.
In Minneapolis, this is a stressful time for your community. It's stressful for your police officers.
If you have any dissension within your ranks, it's going to, make your job that much more difficult.
Learn from what other people have already gone through.
It will take time. It's not going to happen overnight.
But don't give up hope. Don't give up hope and keep fighting. Keep fighting.
What struck me during these conversations is the similarities between Albuquerque and Minneapolis. The details of the police-involved shooting deaths, the outrage from the community, the struggle to keep officers on the force, the fight against rising violent crime, the police officials promising to do better, and the uncertainty of what that promise ultimately will look like.
Kirsten, you really took a deep dive here. You lived in Albuquerque, you worked in Albuquerque, and you went back to report on it. Couple of takeaways.
I think the biggest takeaway is exactly what you heard through the story. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And even at that, it's a couple of marathons because of the uncertainty that's coming. We don't know what the DOJ will ultimately find in Minneapolis, and we don't know what will happen after that. But if we learn anything, it's from looking through the eyes of this city and seeing what they've gone through. And those leaders and people I talk to say, hopefully you can learn something from what we've went through.
Got to have hope, though.
Yeah.
Kirsten, thank you so much. If you missed